Imagine a village called Willow Creek, tucked beside a sparkling, winding river, nestled among rolling green hills. It was a lovely place, full of cozy stone cottages with roofs made of thick straw called thatch. Colorful flowers spilled out of window boxes, bees buzzed happily in sunny gardens, and a sturdy wooden bridge crossed the river near the village square. Usually, Willow Creek was a happy, bustling place. Living in one of those cozy cottages was our hero, a little girl named Eliza. Now, Eliza wasn't like some children who shouted loudly or ran wildly. She had eyes as kind and brown as warm earth after a soft rain, and her hair was the color of sweet honey shining in the sun. She moved softly, like a gentle breeze rustling through leaves, and she loved listening much more than talking. Her very favorite thing was taking care of tiny, delicate flowers and looking after little birds that might have hurt a wing. Eliza wasn't alone in her quiet adventures. Her best friend in the whole wide world wasn't another child. Oh no. It was Pipkin, a wonderfully fluffy, lop-eared rabbit. Pipkin was the color of soft gray clouds just before bedtime, and his long, floppy ears hung down beside his adorable, constantly twitching nose. He was just the right size for Eliza to cuddle in her arms, and he followed her everywhere she went, his little nose wiggling. Especially if he thought he smelled a yummy carrot nearby. Together, Eliza and Pipkin would explore the meadows near the river. Eliza carefully gathering wildflowers, making sure not to disturb sleeping ladybugs, while Pipkin nibbled happily on sweet clover, his long ears drooping peacefully beside him. Life in Willow Creek was usually lovely and cheerful. The river gave everyone water for drinking and helped the farmers grow their food. The sun shone brightly, making the flowers bloom, and everyone knew their neighbors. People would share freshly baked bread, help each other fix fences if they broke, gather in the village square on market days, their voices sounding happy like bird songs in the morning. But one summer, something changed in Willow Creek. The sun seemed to forget how to be gentle. It beat down hotter and stronger than anyone could remember. Day after day passed, but not a single drop of rain fell from the sky. The sparkling river, usually so full and cheerful, started to shrink. It slowed down until it was hardly moving, became muddy, and pulled away from its banks, leaving behind dry, cracked earth that looked thirsty and sad. The beautiful flowers in the window boxes began to wilt and droop. The farmers stood in their fields, looking very worried at their poor, thirsty crops. The happy chatter in the village square grew quieter and quieter, replaced by anxious whispers and worried frowns. People started getting grumpy with each other. "There's hardly enough water left for my washing," grumbled Mrs. Gable, the baker's wife, sounding cross. "My poor vegetables are drying up right in the ground," sighed Mr. Hemlock, the farmer, wiping sweat from his forehead. Even the children didn't feel much like playing tag anymore. They could feel the worry hanging heavy in the hot, still air. Eliza felt the worry deep inside her, too. She saw the wilting flowers she loved so much and the sad, low river. She made sure to give Pipkin extra lettuce leaves from her own small garden patch, which she watered very, very carefully with the little bit of water she managed to save each day. Pipkin would snuggle close to her, sensing her sadness, his fluffy body a small comfort. One hot afternoon, Eliza sat by the nearly dry riverbank. Pipkin nestled safely in her lap. She watched two neighbors arguing. They were arguing over whose turn it was to get water from the village well, because even the well was getting very low. Their voices were sharp and unkind. Not like the friendly sounds Willow Creek was used to. It made Eliza's gentle heart feel heavy and sad. She thought to herself, everyone is so worried about the water, they're forgetting to be kind to each other. She looked up towards the green hills that stood protectively around the village. Her grandmother used to tell her wonderful stories about those hills. Stories about hidden springs where water always flowed, and secret pathways known only to the deer and the foxes. Suddenly, Eliza remembered one specific story about a tiny, hidden spring high up on the hillside that her grandmother swore never dried up. Not even in the hottest, driest summers. People had mostly forgotten about it because the river was always so full and easy to reach. A little idea sparked in Eliza's quiet mind. It felt like a very small idea, just like her, but maybe, just maybe, it could help. "Pipkin," she whispered softly, stroking his long, velvety ears. "What if we went looking for Grandma's secret spring up in the hills?" Pipkin twitched his nose back and forth, as if to say, "That sounds like an adventure. Lead the way." So very early the next morning, before the sun had even peeked over the hills, Eliza packed a small cloth bag. Inside, she put a little piece of bread, a crunchy carrot just for Pipkin, and an empty waterskin pouch. Holding Pipkin gently in her arms, she slipped quietly out of the sleeping village and started climbing the winding path up into the hills. The path was steeper than she remembered, and soon the sun climbed into the sky, making it feel very hot. Pipkin sometimes hopped along beside her on his strong little legs, and sometimes, when he got tired, he rode tucked safely in her arms. Eliza followed the clues from her grandmother's story carefully. She went past the big old oak tree that looked like it had a grumpy face carved into its bark. Then, through a patch of wild thyme that smelled wonderful when her feet brushed against it, and headed up towards a cluster of large, mossy rocks her grandmother had described. Her legs felt tired, and she was very, very thirsty herself now. Just when she started to feel a little bit discouraged, thinking maybe the story wasn't true, Pipkin suddenly wriggled excitedly in her arms. His nose was twitching faster than ever. He hopped down to the ground and darted straight towards the mossy rocks. Eliza hurried after him. And there, hidden behind a curtain of green leafy ferns, was the tiniest trickle of water she had ever seen. It wasn't a big gushing waterfall, not at all. It was just a small, steady drip-drip of cool, clear water, falling into a small hollow lined with smooth, gray stones. It was real. It was the hidden spring. It wasn't enough water to fill the river or water all the village fields, not even close. But it was clean, fresh drinking water, enough for people to drink, enough to give them a little bit of hope. Very carefully, Eliza knelt down and filled her waterskin pouch, until it was plump and full. She let Pipkin have a long, cool drink from the little stone pool first. Then, feeling a little bit stronger and much, much more hopeful, they started the journey back down the hill to Willow Creek. When she walked back into the village square, people were gathered, looking tired and worried, their faces long. Eliza, who was usually so quiet she was hardly noticed, walked right into the middle of the group. "Look," she said, holding up the full waterskin. Her voice was soft, but in the worried silence everyone heard her clearly. "I found water. Up in the hills. It's grandmother's secret spring. It's small, but it's there, and it's clean." At first, people just stared, surprised. Then old Mr. Hemlock, the farmer, stepped forward, his eyes wide. "The hidden spring? Goodness me, I haven't heard anyone talk of that since I was just a boy." Eliza nodded earnestly. "It's not very much," she explained honestly, "but it's fresh, and it's clean water. It's enough for drinking if we all share it carefully." A hopeful murmur went through the crowd, seeing the clear water sloshing in the waterskin and hearing Eliza's simple, hopeful words. Something seemed to change in the air. The grumpiness started to melt away, replaced by a tiny spark of possibility. "Well now," said Mrs. Gable, the baker's wife, her voice losing its sharp edge and sounding kinder, "if that little lass and her brave rabbit can find water for us all, then surely we grown-ups can work together to fetch it." And that's exactly what they did. They quickly organized teams to climb the hill each day and carefully collect water from the little spring. They made sure everyone got a fair share, starting with the oldest villagers and the youngest children first. They started talking to each other again, not with sharp voices, but with helpful ones, planning together, helping each other out. They started remembering how to be good neighbors again. The little spring didn't magically end the drought right away. The river stayed low for a while longer. But the spring gave them precious drinking water. It gave them something important to do together. And most importantly of all, it gave them back their hope. Working together, sharing the little bit they had, brought back the kindness and the cheerful spirit to Willow Creek. Eliza adored. With her gentle heart and her fluffy friend, Pipkin, by her side, hadn't needed to shout or boss anyone around. She had simply acted with kindness and quiet courage, and that small, brave act had helped the whole village remember how to be kind, how to work together, and how to be strong even when things were difficult. And so, the story of gentle Eliza and brave Pipkin, and the tiny hidden spring teaches us something truly wonderful and important. It teaches us that even the smallest person, with the quietest voice and the gentlest heart, can make a huge positive difference in the world. You do and need to be the loudest or the strongest person in the room to be brave and helpful. Sometimes a small act of kindness, a quiet bit of courage when things are tough, or a hopeful idea that you share can ripple outwards just like the water from that little spring. It can bring people together, lift their spirits, and help everyone get through even the hardest times. Always remember the special power of your own quiet kindness. It's stronger than you think.